So you're at home and your child is doing the homework and they're quite frustrated and you feel like you're getting nowhere, you're headbutting against a brick wall and you just don't know what to do. Or you're teaching in front of a classroom and you've got a few kids that it doesn't matter what you do, you can't quite hook them in and engage them in a task. Well, this video is really for you, and this is a simple little kinesiology tip and tool that I learnt many moons ago over in England. Actually, was the first time I experienced it, and it's really been reinforced in all of the things that I've learnt since. And it's essentially just looking at the eye patterns. We're looking at how we can quickly pick up on an individual's learning styles, their failure and their success patterning, how they construct their memory together, and what is the most successful way to learn that information and kind of changing it. So to put it simply, we have 3 different learning styles that we can clearly see and pick up on within the eye patterning. We have our auditory eye pattern, which is going sideways, looking to the side, either side. We have our visual memory, which is often looking up, looking for the answers, looking for what I've visually seen or what I might visually construct in my mind's eye. And then we have our kinetic memory, which is looking down. Very simply, keeping it really simple if this is the first time that you have ever used this, because it's simple and really effective. So essentially you're just looking and engaging with the child in front of you or the adult in front of you, whoever it might be, and you're just asking some really simple questions like, what color is your room? What color are your bed sheets? What is the sound that Donald Duck says? Or what kind of sound does a motorbike make? What kind of sound is an elephant? I don't know. Or when was the last time that you jumped really high? Can you hop on one foot? What's the best foot for you to kick a soccer ball? Any simple question. And you're just getting the child to answer. And as they answer, you're looking for where they search for the answers within their eye patterning. So if they're looking up, they're really looking for a visual understanding. They're trying to remember the last time that they saw their room. They're trying to picture what their room might look like if you're using that example, or they might be doing a visual reconstruct if you've asked them to change a color within their room. Then you're looking at, if they're looking sideways, then you're looking at the auditory aspect. So you're looking at the fact that they learn more from what you say than what they see and what they do. Or you're looking that they need that verbal reinforcement to know that they've done it correct. Or on the other note, I know that this is what is definitely in my house, the auditory distress. Too many instructions turn for shutdown pretty quick in our house. When you also, if you're looking downwards, then you've got that kinetic memory. So you're looking for the muscle memory, the habits and the patterns, the defense. Kinetic memory too, looking down, you can see whether it's a little bit of flight or fight as well. So you're looking whether it actually had a you're looking for if it's actually had a kinetic imprint in the body. So did that cause, a retraction and a wanting to run and hide, or did I run and hide kind of aspect, which is really good because they're the ones that you want to pick up on really quickly and you want to then encourage in different ways. So once you know the way that your child is mainly focused on, then it's really easy to connect to them on their level. You may use things like, look over here. Did you see what I saw? If they're visual. Are you listening? Did you hear that? What did that feel like? Can you come over here? I've got something that we're going to do together. And just changing the way that you approach it, which is super easy. The next layer upon that is to really think about how they're distressed. So if you're asking them things that you know that they don't like, or you're asking them to gauge what they don't like, and you're looking at the eye patterns, then you can see that. So if you are then at homework or trying to convince your child to clean their room or cooperate more, or if you're in the classroom and you're trying to engage that child in the back of the room that seems a little bit engaged, you're using their success pattern. You're avoiding their failure patterning and how they learn failure, and you're trying to really draw them out from any failure and into a success aspect. It sounds a lot more complicated than it really is. Once you know, you just sort of avoid one and promote the other. An example of this would be my son is auditory distressed. He's got a really good kinetic understanding. He's got really good kinetic, but his sweet spot is his visual learning. So for me to give him too many instructions and have auditory overload, he'll just shut down. But if I was to line up a few videos on YouTube for him to watch over something that I wanted to then point out or discuss with him, then he's really quite switched on and he can see that. We do that all the time in sport. I find that having a higher knowledge of all the sport and me saying what I know is really stressful for him. But if I can video him and get him to tell me what he sees, and then I'll reinforce it with the information, and then he'll go and try it, and he normally will get it straight away. But if I tell him that he needs to, hold his body a little bit more forward and have his center of gravity a little bit more forward, then he's in a complete switch off. So I find that I use this all the time in the classroom, and I think that this is one of the most valuable tools that I did learn in kinesiology and utilized in the classroom for as long as I did, to actually just connect and sell to the kids, especially being a PE teacher when it was really practical. So if I could, sit down and mark the role and explain what we're doing today, and I knew the kids that were a real kinetic kid, then they need to get up and try it. There's no point me showing them again or giving them more instructions. They're going to be better off to have the equipment in their hand to try it, and then I can swoop in and say, how did that feel? What do you think we could do to make it feel better? And that takes away all of the agitated behavior that you might have, the not sitting still, the not listening, all of those kind of aspects. If I know who is auditory, then I can make sure that they've heard me, or I, can just keep them back to explain it again. If I know who's visual, they might be watching but not listening, or they, like the other way around, if they're auditory, they might not be watching but they might be listening to the instructions. So then I kind of can gauge who has received the information the first time, and that gives me a chance to get up and get moving around the classroom or the classroom setting, and then actually target the information and reinforce and come for any questions. Did you, that visual learner, did you see the demonstration? Because what I'm seeing for you doing is not quite right. Would you like to show me? Would you like me to show it to you again? Or did you hear what I said? Because you're showing me that you might have not been listening to all the details. Do you want to say what you heard, and then I'll just fill in the gap? So you're really sort of reinforcing that they do have the ability to learn and are switched on, and you're not then overloading them with that cognitive overload. You're getting them up and moving. So there's less shutdown, so to speak. I personally love this, and even now, as I'm more in the clinic and I'm stepping in and out of the classroom as a casual teacher, I use it all the time. And I really then get a deeper understanding of the students in front of me, and I can then engage on what they're doing. One little tip before I do go is spelling. And this is a really interesting one, because spelling words is very much a visual patterning. You need to be able to see patterns. And I often clear this in eye patternings in the clinic all the time. So spelling, if you're an auditory learner or if you are a kinetic learner, you're actually storing the information in the wrong spot. One of the easiest things that you can do at a very young age with children that are not quite picking up on their learning is to actually put the cards at a point where their eyes need to be elevated. So they might have to look up to read their sight words. They might have to use their eyes, spell it, write it above in the air. Can you imagine? Can you visualize the letter? And really sort of selling it into a visual aspect at an early age. If you get kids using their visual memory for their spelling and understanding that this symbol that they are seeing equals the shape of my mouth, or this symbol that I'm seeing equals this sound that I'm making, or this symbol that I am seeing equals this action with my body, then they will have a higher success pattern, a higher success rate for actually that visual recall of the language. And that's one of the reasons why you find that the kids that are the visual learners are the ones that generally will pick up the reading and the writing a little bit faster than the other ones. And we often then, fluff around the classroom to get them to play snap with the words and to get them to do all the activities to remember the words. But it's not so much with spelling about anchoring spelling words into their kinetic memory, because they will always then struggle. They'll always need to write it out to remember how to spell it, or they'll need to type it down, or they'll need to just say the sound slowly before they get it. You really want them to actually pull up their spelling words into their visual memory. And there's lots of little balances that we do about that, especially if a child is presenting with dyslexic tendencies. It just generally means that we need to scoop up and pad out that kinetic memory of the spelling words and put it up into our visual memory in success patterns rather than a failure pattern. I hope this helps.